What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Replayer Podcast. I'm Dan, your host this week, here with my co-host Pagan.
Hi.
Hello.
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 It's been a long week.
A long week. It's been a week for sure.
Been a long week. We've had stuff happen.
Stuff happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's the first proper week of Retro Replay, I guess, since
Yay.
last week's was more of a here's what's to come. And now we've got our first official episode of a game, a guest, an amazing guest at that.
Yeah.
You must be tired because you
starting strong.
You also appeared in Trailer Talk this week.
Yes, I did. It's very exciting.
So now the Replayer Podcast gets to be me interviewing Pagan, the intern. How was it on the set this week?
Excellent, as always.
It was a lot of Drew nerding out, a lot of Nolan being Nolan, and you dropping the hot bomb. Oh,
right. Yes, indeed.
And making PJ make that face. That face was
PJ's
phenomenal.
Response was so good. And then Stephanie edited the way Stephanie edited that is so good with the zoom and the subtitles. Oh, yeah. And then Nolan would be like, huh! I thought that was really funny because I didn't actually notice any of that happening because I was too embarrassed at the time. And I was like, oh God, what have I done? But yeah. I came clean about an issue that...
an issue we're well aware of here on the podcast. Like I was like in the live chat, like I told you not to tell anyone, Pagan.
Yeah, I know. And that was the last time I worked for Retro Replay.
Yeah. Did you not know that Drew is like a massive Star Wars fan?
Oh, I did, and I don't care.
It's fine. It's honestly fine.
I don't like Star Wars. We can do a whole Star Wars episode if you want. I know it. I've seen them. I haven't seen actually the last one, the ninth film. And I will say 4, 5, and 6 are tolerable. 1, 2, and 3 are just the worst movies ever made. And 6 and 7, 7 and 8, look it. 7 was just a fucking copy and paste of 4. So I was like, why did we even have this film? And then 8 was just bad. And then I didn't bother with 9. So come at me, Twitter.
Come at me, bros. Let's go.
Come at me, bros.
I do have more to say on that, but let's roll into some of our topics of conversation this week. What do we call them? We had
topics and tangents?
Well, we had a separate phrase for it, didn't we? Separate from topics and tangents?
Do we?
I thought we did.
My God, we're getting old. We can't remember things.
Just for all the forgetful.
Yeah. Anyway.
We'll circle back around to the Star Wars debacle.
Yeah.
But a little bit of news to talk about this week. There were some pretty big things that got announced outside of the Retro Replay world. I would say something that most PlayStation fans, me included, a big announcement yesterday, actually. They announced a release date for the new Ratchet & Clank PS5 game, A Rift Apart. So it now has an official release date of June 11th this summer, which is
That's so exciting.
We talked about the PlayStation 5, months ago, and when they first announced all the games coming out for it, and I said then Ratchet & Clank was like my big, like I can't wait to get my hands on Ratchet & Clank for the PS5. So now having a date for that definitely is like, ooh, yes, something else to look forward to playing besides Demon's Souls, because that's all I've been playing on my PlayStation 5.
Wow. I haven't really played much on PlayStation 5. I mean, look, I'm very excited about this, and I think like having a brand new game announced for this summer, it almost seems too soon because of COVID. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Is that? And then do you actually look at launch dates now and take them with a pinch of salt, being like, sure, like
it might change
roughly summer 2020.
Now that I think of it, there's a couple of other games that have been announced for summer releases this year, and I'm wondering if that's due to COVID, because Resident Evil 8 also got a summer release window, like May, I think. Either way, most games don't come out between the months of like June and August. And I don't know why, honestly, but maybe because of COVID, they're changing up their schedules on how they roll the games out.
Yeah, but I just mean like in terms of like because of postponements and shit. But then
Hmm,
on the same level, I guess we're almost a year into this now. So maybe they've accustomed to how to work in these
maybe.
conditions.
I
Um,
have a question now.
yeah.
Based on that, are you more as a PlayStation fan, just kind of assuming like, hey, it'll probably get delayed because that's
Yeah.
kind of a trend with a lot of the bigger PlayStation games?
Yes. 100%. I'm like, sure. Like,
Sure.
you're telling me it's June 11th. I'm thinking October. Like, you do you. And if it's June 11th, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Fair,
I don't know.
fair.
I'm pessimistic in that way. I'm just like, it's going to be delayed.
Yeah. Speaking
Maybe
of
not.
other PlayStation series that get delayed, The Last of Us HBO show
Oh,
got
yes.
some official casting announcements.
Hmm.
So they said that Pedro Pascal has been cast as Joel,
Yep.
which sounds like a pretty good choice in my opinion.
Hmm.
I'm a fan of Pedro
Yeah.
and his work on Game of Thrones and The Mandalorian. And to join him, it looks like they got Bella Ramsey, who, if you don't
Hmm.
know, played Lyanna Mormont, also on Game of Thrones. And
Yes.
she's grown a bit since then, so she kind of looks a little bit more the part.
Ellie's age. Yeah.
How do you feel about this casting?
I feel good about it. I feel like Pedro Pascal can bring this kind of like rugged experience, I guess, that
Mm,
Joel just naturally has. Like, because we see him like 20 years later after Sarah dies and everything. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So I think that he's gonna do really well. Bella Ramsey, I don't know her much other than playing in Game of Thrones. So
yeah,
uh, I mean, look, was her performance in Game of Thrones amazing? No. But at the same time, was her character? Not really. Her character was just a badass, like stone faced young woman who was like the leader of this army. So, I mean, I have total faith in the project. I think the casting is excellent, and I think it'll give them both a time to like really shine. I think more so for Bella than it would be for Pedro Pascal,
mm,
because she's really only like known for Game of Thrones, and that's what
right,
everybody's like pitching her against. It's the same way that like Tom Holland is known for Spider Man, but then you see things in like The Devil All the Time and stuff, and be like, oh shit, that kid can act.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm actually really excited for the Bella Ramsey casting, and I think Pedro Pascal just nails everything he does. So I'm
yeah.
pretty on board for it. Hmm.
I can't say I've seen anything of his that I don't like.
Yeah.
As far as like the character archetype, you know, I'm sure he'll find a way to make it work. And I don't know if anyone else out there has any kind of like misgivings, like, oh no, Pedro can't possibly be Joel. But like, I honestly don't see him not doing a good job. But the other thing that I was going to
Mm.
question and ask, I thought when they announced the HBO series, they said
Yeah.
it wasn't going to be about Joel and Ellie.
Yes, I would agree. I thought that as well. So when these casting choices were announced, I was like, I thought this wasn't going to be this.
So here's my thinking.
Okay.
Either that was a ruse or
Okay. Or
they're still not main characters in the show.
that would be a good twist. I would be so okay with this.
I think that would be amazing, honestly. Like, if it's
Yeah.
not the plan, I hope they make it the plan. Like, I would be so much more down
Yes.
for Joel and Ellie to make cameos,
Yes.
but not be main characters.
I agree. And I think we spoke about this before when The Last of Us was being made into HBO announcement, like it's a TV series.
Neil
I
Druckmann
think,
cast us.
yeah, Neil Jordan cast us. I feel like I would love to see. I love Ellie and Joel's story, but I do think it belongs in the game.
Hmm.
And I think it is unfortunate for those people who don't play video games that they won't experience that. So having them maybe as potential cameos in this would be super great to like intrigue people and potentially like up that. And anybody could go watch them. Like I'm pretty sure there's
Oh,
versions on
yeah,
YouTube where it's like
absolutely.
every bit of information, like cutscenes and all the important bits, they're all in there.
Yeah.
So you can go watch it on YouTube. But yeah, I was really interested in like a story that did not revolve around Ellie and Joel.
Right.
I feel like they're great characters, don't really touch their story. glance at them. I was honestly hoping this was going to be a um Marlene. Is it Marlena? Marlene?
Oh, right. She was the
Yeah, Meryl
woman.
Dandridge's character.
Yeah, she was trying to get Ellie to the
Yes.
Fireflies, essentially, for them to be able to do the surgery.
Yeah. I was hoping it would be that story. I'd be hoping it would be like this whole like the rise of the Fireflies and that kind of thing. I thought that would be really interesting. Or alternatively, a Tess and Joel story, like how they met and stuff. I think that would be really interesting because there's stuff there that's like good and bad. Like he was on both sides. So I think that would have been really interesting to like delve into. But here we are with a casting of Joel and Ellie, and I'm hoping that you're right. I'm hoping that they will be
well, here's the beauty with that too, is there's so much room within that world to tell great stories outside of Joel and Ellie. And I think that if they have Joel and Ellie to kind of ground the stories around the game, that's great. But I still hope it's not going to just be like, here's the events of the game retold in a TV show. I think it'd be cooler to have more of a prequel story of like Joel over the course of the 20 years between the beginning of the game, like the prologue to, when you actually start playing. There's so much more opportunity there, I think. And who knows how many great side stories you could get, especially like, was it Sam and Henry?
Yes. And even if they that story would have been really interesting as well. I think there's just so many angles, like you said, that you could come at this for. So I'd hope that depending on obviously their timing and their timeline, I'd love to see a Sam and Henry cameo as well. Maybe not in the first season, maybe in second or third season. Yeah.
I guess really it depends on what HBO's plan is, if they're going to try to make it like the next Game of Thrones, essentially.
Yeah. But this has the potential to be like the next Walking Dead, the next Game of Thrones. Like the story building in the world of The Last of Us that Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog created is just so limitless. Like it's like the possibilities are endless. You can run any story in this world, which is really cool. And I'm really glad that obviously Neil Druckmann is involved so that you wouldn't have any threat towards how it would be portraying the game or the universe of the game, because like he's there and he's on board and he's collaborating. So it's like, they're taking the games to heart and what they built there.
For sure.
I'm excited.
Much like what we know with the Uncharted movie too, that a lot of the people on board with that project are big fans of the series.
Yes.
So that's exciting, which on that note, I remember hearing something recently of blanking out. The kid who plays Spider-Man.
Tom Holland?
Tom Holland recently said that he believes Uncharted, the movie, has one of the biggest action sequences he's ever shot. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially to put that up against Spider-Man. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like putting that up against really like Infinity War and Avengers or something like that, like for Spider-Man, because like the actual Spider-Man films, the action in those, I would imagine a lot of that is CG.
True.
Like he does all of his own stunts and everything, and he's fantastic. But I think like maybe because of Uncharted, like he's not in a suit, so you don't have to CG it out. Like you can just get him to do physical things. So I'm very excited for the Uncharted film, man. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, optimistic.
I'm hopeful.
Very optimistic, because just video game movies in general, we've talked about that plenty of times, how video game movies just in general kind of have a bad track record. So
true.
He was hoping. And there's a new Mortal Kombat movie coming along too that sounds promising.
Is there?
Yeah, it's a new Mortal Kombat movie coming to HBO Max.
It's interesting because like the previous ones haven't done so well. Like
nope.
They were just terrible.
Terrible.
Awful.
All right. Yeah. Well, moving us along to this week's content proper, we can circle it back now to the first thing we got this week was Trailer Talk, the premiere episode featuring the lovely Pagan. And the
That's me.
lovely Josephine J. Joseph.
Josephine J. Joseph.
Um,
That other
and
guy.
that other guy,
Yeah.
Irish. So you guys got to sit down and watch the trailer for Dune,
Yep.
and go to great lengths around that trailer too, which was not expecting that, honestly. So can you go into any details with that? Like, how was that? Like, what was that experience?
So good. It was so good.
Are you making fun of me?
No, the idea was pitched and we were like, yeah, it sounds great. I'm really excited about it. And we watched the trailer together and we weren't like super sure of how this was going to go. Like, this was our first episode and we are like,
Mhm.
okay, well, let's just shoot the shit and talk about this trailer and see what you think about it. What do you think of genuinely the trailer? And that was really fascinating. Like, I didn't know things like actors negotiating contracts for how much time they're in a trailer for.
Mhm.
I didn't know about like the budget on the film or the amount of like, I guess the non CG elements of this
Yeah,
film. Like
all the
a lot of this
practical
was all
shots that they did.
filmed practically. Yeah. So that was super cool to listen to. Like, PJ has like a wealth of knowledge on pretty much everything. So I find it really really interesting to listen to like him talk about film and production and lighting. He loves lighting.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? Honestly, it sets a tone. It sets a good tone.
Well, that's what I was gonna say too with that premiere is I was like, how long is this gonna be? Is it gonna be 5 minutes? Like, cool, that was fun,
Oh,
bye, you know. But
yeah.
the like PJ going as deep as he did into like the background of shooting and filming and
Hmm.
all of those little behind the scenes elements, and not to mention, I don't know where they got all that behind the scenes footage from the set,
I'm sure it's on the internet somewhere.
but they showed all these, behind the scenes
Yeah.
set shots of like them filming these practical shots, and PJ was going into all this great detail about how difficult that is, but how much better of an experience it makes. And then Paul goes into matching the music and the mood and the different elements that music plays on a trailer. And
Hmm.
then you all got into the whole balance of the romance in the beginning turning into the action and how
Yes.
weird that felt for the trailer.
Yeah. It was really interesting because I think like it's really cool to get everybody's different perspective. Nolan as an actor, a performer, and then obviously Drew and PJ as producers of content and TV and film. Stephanie had some like really interesting things about the editing and how like there's a slow fade and then there's a quick cut, and I was like, fucking hell, I didn't even notice.
Mm,
Like, it's crazy how I didn't get that. So it really is fascinating to listen to this group of people because you really do come away with something else. And then when I watched the trailer later, I'm like, oh, like I didn't see that the first time. I'm really
mm,
glad that I had this conversation. Um, yeah, the whole thing about it for me, like, was the Zendaya thing. I think I probably would have just cut that little bit out of the trailer or put it somewhere else, like Nolan suggested. But really interesting film. I don't know anything but the prequel or the prequel, the original film or the books or anything. Like, I don't know anything about this film, so I was just like, "Hey, I'm a noob. I'm excited. Thank you for having me." So,
and I had not seen that trailer yet either, so that was actually my first time
oh
experiencing the
wow,
trailer, watching it with you all. So it was
cool.
kind of like in that same boat along with you guys, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, 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 and um, I don't think of myself as like a massive Dune fan, but I
Hmm.
have seen the original movie. I had like a special edition DVD of it back in the day, and I remember loving that film, but also finding it kind of boring at the same time because it has a lot of like really long, slow, drawn out moments, and
Yeah.
it's one of those movies where like the sci-fi is really good,
Hmm.
but it's also extremely slow paced. So if you're not able to sit still for 3 hours or however that movie was probably 2.5 hours long, it kind of like would put you to sleep. And then you see the big worm and you're like, oh, cool, something fun. I'm awake now.
The worm thing is like something that I actually got a reference for. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? So I don't watch a lot of sci-fi or whatever, but I saw the giant worm thing and I was like, oh my God, that reminds me of Star Wars. And that also reminds me of like the Earth Eaters, I think they're called in Tolkien. So I was like,
okay.
oh, this is so cool. And then Adam's like, yeah, that's what like inspired, Star Wars or whatever. And I was like, oh shit, that's cool. Like I didn't know any of that. Like I think that's really fascinating. It's really interesting to know that this was your first time watching the trailer with us. That's kind of cool. I really like that.
Yeah, I had not seen it yet because I honestly didn't realize the trailer had come out. Like I had seen screens from the movie and I'd seen like the characters in their costumes, but I hadn't actually realized that the trailer had come out. So it was like, oh, cool, Dune trailer, fantastic. And I will say that after watching the trailer, I'm pretty excited to see this movie. I think it looks really good. I think they're doing some new and interesting things, and I know the director has done some cool like sci-fi in the past too. So good track record there.
And I will say, like the director also did Blade Runner 2047. And when I watched the trailer of it, I was like, oh, this gives me Blade Runner vibes. So I'm in. I love it. I think that's cool. I'm not a massive Blade Runner fan or anything, but I did enjoy the film. So I was like, oh, that's cool.
On that note, I haven't seen the new Blade Runner yet myself.
Oh, you should watch it.
I've been told a million times it's fantastic. It's just...
Oh, I think we rented it.
Haven't gotten around to watching it yet.
Yeah. It's really good. Highly enjoy it. Go for it.
It's definitely on my list of movies to watch eventually. One of these days.
Fair.
And if I can say, speaking of things that I haven't finished watching, The Boys season 2.
What? Go watch that show.
I have 3 episodes left.
How could you not binge that shit? I think I completed that shit in like 2 days. I was like, oh my God, just give me more content.
I binged the first season in I think 2 days, 2 maybe 3 days last year, I think after it premiered. And I was like, this is amazing. This is fantastic. I love this. It's like superheroes, but way beyond. It's like the worst case scenario, basically, of what could happen in life if superheroes ever became a thing.
Yep.
And watching season 2, for some reason, gives me really bad anxiety because I'm constantly waiting for any one of the characters to just explode or something.
Yep. I feel that. You can actually ask Adam, and that was word for word how I've described that show. Is like, I hate watching this show because I have anxiety. I have like clammy hands and my heart is racing and I just have anxiety watching this fucking show. But I have to watch it because I have to know how this ends. And the problem with all of this kind of stuff is like you said, it's this worst case scenario of what people could be like if they were superhuman, but also assholes. And that's fucking terrifying, and also says a lot about like making political statements and everything. But that is just terrifying. And the fact that they're bad people with like all this power just made me so angry and anxious to watch the show that I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I don't know if I can finish it. And I did. I just binged it.
Yeah. Like I said, I only have a few more episodes left, and I do really enjoy the show. It's a fucking good time. It's just like I'm sitting here like the whole time watching it.
It'll do that to you. Yeah.
But of course, the reason we're talking about this is because this week on Retro Replay, they had Mr. Jack Quaid as a guest, which is pretty amazing. This has got to be, I wouldn't say
so big,
the highest tier guest they've ever had, but he's like the first, non-specifically voice actor, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I also think though, like he's probably the most, it's going to sound really weird, but like on trend, if you know what I mean? Like like, he's really on the rise with his career. And I just mean that in like a production sense, because he is on the rise with his career and he's very popular. And obviously The Boys, like coming off the back of that, and then the season 3 coming up. Yeah. Like, it's a really good time. And I think everybody really enjoyed The Boys if they've seen it. I know, like Drew fangirling in the opening of the show being like, I can't believe we have Jack Quaid on today. I think like is such a mood. Because I would so be like that. I'd be like, oh my God, we're gonna get Jack Quaid on today. How exciting. Like, except he's much cooler than me.
That just made me wonder if Drew actually was just at home one day looking for something to watch, and he was like, oh, there's this show on Amazon that I've been meaning to watch this, The Boys. And he sat down and watched both season 1 and 2 over the course of a weekend, and he was like, we got to get Jack Quaid on the show now. And that's how it happened. Just because he wanted to fangirl over Jack Quaid.
Yeah, likely. and ask for like signed stuff. I'm sure.
Tell me what's happening in season 3 besides Jensen Ackles, because we knew that already. Mark
I feel like
Hamill.
if I would love to have like, maybe I could pitch this to Drew actually. Do you know, like have a board at the back of the wall or something like that, so that when COVID is finished, Drew, and you get actual guests in, we just get them to sign like a wall or something.
Like one of those
Like sign it like they've
an
been here.
book, like I was here kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be so fucking cool.
The guest sign-in book.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that'd be just like
Drew,
savage.
get on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that'd be a really cool idea. And then
he's listening to this right now going, I'm stealing that one.
or just not like shaking his head, being like, shut up. Yeah. I thought this was a really big announcement for Retro Replay to have Jack on the show.
Mhm.
And then they played Left 4 Dead 2, which was Jack Quaid's suggestion.
Which is also very cool that they
so
played
cool.
a game that he said they should play.
Yeah.
Which makes me wish, damn this fucking COVID, because I bet you if he was able to come on set, they would have played together.
Yeah, for sure.
And, one day we'll get there.
Yeah, it would have been really, really cool to see them like play that. And I would love to see them kind of incorporate that kind of thing with like a multiplayer aspect of the show where they can play with the guest. But time and then time zones and Zoom, and it's hard to do. But
they did, I think, once COVID's finished, gameplay segment with Nolan saying like, can we play this next week? I have somebody in mind that knows zombies. And for a split second, I was like, I wonder if he's going to try to get guests like to play with him.
Oh, Left 4 Dead. On the show?
Yeah. Whether it's like special guests or replayers even, like that would be cool, because obviously replayers want more involvement, especially in multiplayer aspects like that. But I don't know. I'm wondering what they have up their sleeves.
I would love to know. That'd be super great to know. Because I have no idea. Because when he did say that, I was like, oh, cool. And then he's like, I know somebody who'd be like really interested or who knows the thing with 2 Red Zombies. And I was like, who could he be talking about? And I was thinking like, would it be like Steve Bloom, but he's already been on the show, but does that matter? Like, I was just like, who are you talking about? Who?
Yeah.
And then I thought, is it Drew? It's probably Drew. It's probably Drew.
So on Left 4 Dead, have you ever played Left 4 Dead?
No. It looks horrifying.
It's one of those, it's like Phasmophobia, where it's not as bad when you're playing with friends. It kind of lessens the terror a little bit.
I think because of the hordes of like zombies and stuff like that, I feel you on that point, because you and your friends are like trying to get through it together. If I was playing them by myself, I'd be like, oh God, I'm like probably peeing my pants. But playing with friends and stuff, I always think it's just funnier to do that thing. So it looked fun. I would have probably enjoyed it, but
I actually still play Left 4 Dead to this day. And I play with friends. We group up every once in a while. We'll get on it. Josie, friend of the show, is a big fan of Left 4 Dead.
Yes.
And I've played with her before. And we usually get together maybe once or twice a month. We've done it recently. We played Left 4 Dead and streamed it with a group of friends. And it's just a damn shit show. And it almost always devolves into us shooting each other instead of the zombies, because you can shoot each other and kill each other. And then it really becomes Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I think like it looks like a really good almost community game, if you know what I mean. Like it looks like something that people could really get involved in and put their full force into it, because it looks fun, just terrifying. Yeah, what was interesting about that is like I think Drew briefly touched on it, and I just want to go back about it because I thought this was a really interesting fact. Was the game was originally banned in Australia after being too violent to be classified as mature 15 plus. So that was like the highest video game rating at the time when it came out. I think it was 2009.
Yeah.
2009. So when they wanted to re-release it, they tried to mod the game and take out things like decapitation, dismemberment, wound details, and the piles of dead bodies. And that version, the modified version, was not accepted into their Office of Film and Literature classification. And it wasn't released until 2014 when they had upped their classification, their highest classification, to rated 18 plus.
Oh,
So literally in Australia, you could not play Left 4 Dead 2 until 2014.
that's funny.
Like, I don't know. I thought that was kind of mental. Yeah, it's just pretty interesting. Yeah. It was a really interesting game to look up as well. Like, it's also banned in Germany.
That doesn't surprise me, honestly, because I know Germany has some strict regulations when it comes to violence.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like,
especially video game violence.
yeah, I actually remember going to Germany in 2012 and seeing a lot of games that were like highly censored that were pretty normal over here,
Yep.
or they wouldn't even be out over there because of the violence. And it was like, oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah. I think you could get it in Germany now, but it's the censored version. It's like the highly censored version. You can't play the US version. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. I just thought like that was a really interesting game. Like obviously I don't play the game, so I don't know much about it. So when I'm doing research and stuff regarding like what that's gonna look like on Retro Replay, that it was a really interesting one to research because there's so many like restrictions about it because it was so violent. I was like, oh shit.
And it was an Xbox game that they were playing too, which me, of course, my little Xbox fanboy heart swelled, and I was like, yay, some Xbox. And Nolan had a great reaction to like, wait, I was getting good, Drew, and now you're giving me a different controller. It's like, it's all the same. It's the same setup.
No, it's not.
All the buttons are the same.
I know. No, they're not. I played Gears of War on Xbox, and I've played like PlayStation games for pretty much my whole life. But as soon as I go on Gears of War Xbox, I'm like, fuck, where's the X button? Why is it over there where the square is supposed to be?
When I say the buttons are the same, I mean there's the same amount of buttons in the exact same locations physically.
Yeah, but they all
controller.
do different things, so I can't like now presume one of them does something.
If you play one game, if you were to play like Call of Duty on Xbox and PlayStation, all the buttons do the same thing. They are labeled differently because they're labeled different on the controller.
Yeah,
but R2,
but the buttons are consistent.
A right trigger, that button does the same thing on both consoles.
Yeah,
that's more muscle memory though, honestly, than anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyways, I was excited that they were playing an Xbox game, and I was like, woot, a little bit of representation. My one Xbox voice. I know I'm not alone. There's a few other Xboxes fans out there.
Yeah. I'm sure that they would play more. I mean, I think maybe it was just like an accessibility thing. And I think, honestly, with Nolan, it's probably easier to play on a PlayStation game because he's been playing them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's probably why. I'm sure if there's Xbox games out there, I'm sure they would still play it on the show.
Oh, yeah. And at least with Left 4 Dead, that's one of the few very popular games that you can only play on Xbox or on PC.
True. On PC, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't see them going out of their way to do like the PC version of the game.
No. It would be way too hard to do a PC version. Well, I mean, they've done maybe with a controller and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just that even if they were to play the PC version, they would probably play with an Xbox controller because that's the normal way of doing it.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't have a good segue at that point. I'm trying to think if I want to keep talking on Left 4 Dead or move on.
Well, what about Simon Cancelman?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, Simon Cancelman.
Simon Cancelman. That was probably my favorite part of the show. When actually, to be fair, I loved when Nolan was like, I'm just going to ask him a whole bunch of questions about season 3. And if he doesn't tell me anything, I'm just going to make shit up. I just thought that's amazing. He's like, I'm just going to do what every great journalist does. Make shit up.
That's so true.
Good. That's good.
Like
yeah.
It was
just chef's kiss. And then the whole Simon Cancelman thing. And then what do you think? Like, you should just call me Cancel Man. And then Jack's like, only if you call him Cancelman.
Because you don't want me on that show because it'll get it canceled. After season 3, canceled.
But to be fair, when he started doing the Simon Cancelman bit, everyone in chat was popping off, being like, is he related to like Phil and Marty Kensington?
It was
he's
such
just
a
slashing
Kensington.
prices. Such a Kensington moment. Which was actually really fun to see back on the show. Yeah. I love seeing Nolan's impressions on the show and like just riffing off guests. I really like, it's not that I miss that, but it's more just like I think we used to get a lot more of it when obviously Troy and Nolan were on the set together, ripping, each other apart. So it was pretty funny, but yeah.
Well, to
It
that
was nice to see it.
point, like you said, riffing off the guest, that's where some of those best character moments come from, because of the play off of what each other are saying, and you get Nolan doing that impersonation or creating a character on the spot. And that, to be honest, is something we've been lacking.
Yeah.
Because there isn't that dynamic, at least to the extent that we're used to. And Jack was able to kind of bring that back with Nolan a little bit and create that persona, especially when Jack just went with the bit every time Nolan was saying stuff. He was just kind of like, yep, absolutely perfect.
I loved when Jack was like, I just want you to sell leather, but there's just a white background and we will never see those coats. Like, you need to sell those coats without me ever seeing those coats. And there's just a cow that walks by and I'm like, this is fantastic. And I love this play idea, like this, like happy, like, let's just riff off each other.
Fleshing it out. And then, of course, the wonderful Steph made it a reality at the end of the show. Good. Like, it 100% was exactly what he said.
And honestly, I've missed those end clips. Have you?
Oh, did you?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, no, not when I missed it as in I turned it off. I meant I missed it.
You missed them from happening.
Yeah, from previous seasons, like when they were just like cut back in and it was like a blooper or something.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that is just like, I don't know. It's something cute and fun to end it off with, like that you're always expecting something cool at the end. And I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I guess you're right now that I think of it. Like, it's been a while since we've had a good one of those where it's like after the end of the show, it cuts back to like a 10 or 15 second clip of something that's more of a blooper or just a spoof that happened that didn't make the original cut. And then you end it on that. Like, I've done it with our edits before in the podcast where I've thrown in a little side thing at the end. Something at the end, like a laugh.
Yeah. But, and I mean, they did do it on last week's episode as well, when he was talking about something creamy. I don't know. He said something creamy and I was like, whoa. They obviously cut that out of the show. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. I really enjoy seeing the little blooper aside of Nolan and things like that. And maybe it'll be more of something to come in the Nolan North podcast. When he's a bit uncensored, like when he like takes off the earpiece or whatever. And he's like, was that good? Was it god dang, you know what I mean? Like, I love that kind of thing. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to as well coming up on Retro Replay is the podcast, because I'd like to hear more of them a little unfiltered. Be cool.
More of the background and, like you said, the unfiltered, uncensored randomness, especially where at the end of that episode, Nolan was talking about the bullshitting with Drew. So I'm sure there's going to be more of that. And I couldn't help but laugh at Drew made a comment that made Nolan laugh, and he was like, that's a good way to start off level 4. Drew's being funny. Because he made the Richard McGonagall comment about
that was
Lindsay
genius.
Borden.
Yep.
So like that Nolan was almost actually surprised that Drew made it funny.
Yeah. I like that though. I think sometimes like when you're in a conversation with Drew or something like that, or with Nolan, and we're in like group meeting or whatever, and somebody will say something hilarious, but it's so unexpected. It's just that kind of reaction. And I feel like that happens every day in normal day life. You just hear something and you're like, oh my God, I didn't expect you to say that, but that's hilarious. Oh. Yeah, it was a really nice, genuine reaction. It was cool. Poor Richard.
Oh, Richard.
Poor Richard.
The summer murder cottage
he will forever be the butt of the joke. Like, I'm so sorry.
And he's just such a nice man. He'll never stop anyone.
I know.
Poor Richard.
Poor Richard.
Well, do we have anything else to touch on?
No, I don't think so. I think that was all the content that was mentioned. I did love the shout out at the end though for memberships regarding like this. I think this was probably the first real time that I've seen them shout out memberships that wasn't like a dedicated episode. Do you know what I mean? Like a dedicated clip on YouTube. Is that right?
Would that talking about the different levels of the membership?
Yeah, where he's like, hey, thank you so much for like supporting the show. And like, this is the membership tiers that we have. And we also have these kind of benefits. And, I think that was really cool.
Yeah, I think
Because
they
I
were.
find
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was like, I find like sometimes that there's people that come into the chat and they're like, "Hey, why is everybody's name green?" You know,
Yeah.
and there is such a great mood in chat that when you come on and you see everybody say hi to each other, like, "Ah, Dan, 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 Dan," I'm like, "Hi, Tiny Hannah, Tiny Hannah. Oh my God, hi!" Like, "Hey, Don Lago, what's going on?" I love that. I love that mood in the chat. But I also love that, like, when someone new pops in and they're like, "Hey, first time here," literally at least 5 replayers will see that and
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, welcome in, buddy." And then if
Mm,
they have questions about the show or membership, like that's pretty much like looked after straight away. Someone's like, "Oh, we're green because of membership. You can go to membership tab." So I really enjoyed this aspect of like putting that into the show as well, sort of
yeah.
promote the fact that we are a community and we have membership. And if you want, you can come on in. And there are some great perks and benefits, and there's all the information you need on the membership tab. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was probably the first time, at least since they've updated the membership, that they've been transparent right in the episode. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's separate from like a separate membership video that they're just like, here it is. If you want to support the channel, if you want to be part of it, here are your options,
Mhm.
you know?
And I think that's great because we do have a really great community going already. But we always love to see new faces, and it's so nice when new people pop into the chat and get
For
to know
sure.
everybody and start coming back, and then they join, and it's just nice to see that journey. So
And
I'm glad
all
that it
the
was it was mentioned as well. It's cool. I liked it.
and any new members within Retro Replay community are possible new guests for us to meet on our show.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean, that
indeed.
was the whole point, really, to get to meet replayers and talk
Yeah,
to them and get to know them and give them a chance to share their story and what they love about Retro Replay, because that's why we're here.
that is why we're here.
Yep.
Yup.
Yup.
That's
Deadpan.
funny. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us this week. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there before I wrap it up, Hagen?
No, I'm good. I will probably just throw in that obviously thank you all so much for being here. And if you guys have any questions regarding memberships, just to make sure that to send that over to memberships at retroreplayshow.com, or members, sorry, at retroreplayshow.com. You can also find out about memberships in the membership tab on the community page or on the YouTube channel for Retro Replay, and also on the website. So
Awesome. Cool.
thank you.
So just to close us out, go ahead and just throw out your socials, Pagan, and
Yeah, sure. You can find me at Pagan Plays on Twitter and at Pagan_plays on Instagram and Twitch.
awesome. And I am Starkey Vash on Twitter and Stark Evil Vash on Twitch and Instagram and anywhere else you want to find us to keep up. You can find the Replayer podcast on Twitter and on Facebook as well to keep up with our posts and uploads of everything that you're seeing us. You can also find us on the retroreplayshow.com
.com.
website where you can find our weekly uploads of the podcast as well. If you have any questions for the cast or crew of Retro Replay, you can let us know and we'll see to get them answered. You never know. Pagan's got the hookup.
Okay.
So send us an email at thereplayerpodcast@gmail.com, or you can send either of us messages, DMs on Twitter, what have you. So to make sure you can stay all up to date with the podcast uploads, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google. And that's everything that I need to say.
Woohoo!
Woo! Game over, folks.
Yay!
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Do-do-do-do.
Do, 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 do.